Okay, so I've labeled all the legs and I've got selection handles for the toes of each one, just so I can see what they are. So they're kind of labeled in a weird order here, just the way I duplicated them, but it doesn't really matter. So I've got leg 6 here. So the next thing we want to do is build the neck, and we'll do this in the front view as well. And I'll make the neck sort of about 8 units high, so I'll create joints again. So I don't want to have any of the existing joints selected when I start this, and I'll just start 1 unit up here. So holding down X. So something like that. Hit return. So now I've got a whole bunch of things just called joint. I can select all of these and rename them up here in the status line. If you don't see this here, you might have to open or close one of these little toggles, and if you click on this icon here, it might look like this to start with. If you click on that, you can change it to rename, and I'm going to call this just neck. And when I do that, because I have all the joints selected, it's going to rename them all for me and number them appropriately. So the last thing I'll do now with this is, well, I always like to select the lower level, so the parent level joint, and go to skeleton, orient joint. Just make sure it's all nice and clean. And then I can make this a child of root. So middle mouse drag neck onto root. So you're not dragging all of them, you're just dragging the parent here. It will bring all the children with it. And now you can see it's connected them for me here. The last thing I'll do right now, just to have something to look at, we are going to add the icosahedral head. So under polygon primitives, under platonic solid, we can choose icosahedron. So there are a bunch of different things here, but this is the shape of the bacteriophage head. Subdivisions 1. So I think the defaults, yeah, that looks like the default. So just create that. No, so I'm going to undo that. Okay, didn't want to undo that, so I'll just redo this. And again, we'll go to create polygon primitives, platonic solid, and I'll just turn the subdivisions to 0. No, won't let me. I'll just change it to 0 here after the fact on the input node. Just because I don't want any subdivisions, I will bevel it to control that myself. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in X. And if we look in Wikipedia here, you can see it's sort of elongated in the Y-axis, so we can do that too if we want to. Let's do something like this. So you can see we have something like this, and might even make it a little bit bigger. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to save my file, and I will just bevel this. Let's turn on our edge display. Right, just so we have something like this. Nice beveled edges. And we'll just, of course, name this. And if we want to make this a child of the end joint in the neck, we can do that just by middle mouse dragging this geometry onto that neck node, neck 7 in my case. And then I'll just delete its history, freeze transformations, and so on. So if I were to rotate any of these, you'll see the head follows. Okay. So the next thing that we'll do when we come back is to set up the dynamic curve in the neck.